Dr. Olivia Chun had always imagined first contact would be more official, perhaps in a sterile laboratory with cameras rolling and world leaders watching. Instead, she found herself knee-deep in Amazon mud at 3 a.m, staring at what was definitely not a weather balloon. The crash site stretched before her like a scar in the jungle canopy. Trees lay scattered in perfect radial patterns, their massive trunks snapped like twigs. At the center sat something that made her xenolinguist training feel woefully inadequate, a craft that seemed to shift between silver and deep purple depending on the angle of her flashlight. "Dr. Chun, the radiation readings are normal," called out her research assistant, Jake, from behind a cluster of monitoring equipment. "But the electromagnetic signatures are, well, they're impossible." Olivia nodded absently, her attention fixed on the symbols covering the craft's surface. They pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light that reminded her of a heartbeat. After 15 years studying theoretical alien languages, she was finally looking at what might be actual extraterrestrial writing. Her portable scanner, a standard medical device she'd requisitioned for biological readings, began emitting a low, steady buzz as she approached the craft. She'd been having issues with it all week. The thing seemed to vibrate whenever she turned it on. She made a mental note to request a replacement when they returned to the research station. "Professor, look at this," Jake whispered, pointing to a section of the craft where the symbols glowed brighter. As they watched, the surface began to shift and flow like liquid metal, creating an opening just wide enough for a person. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. This was at the moment that would change everything. She checked her protective gear one final time and stepped through the opening. The interior was unlike anything in her wildest theoretical models. Curved walls covered in the same pulsing. Symbols created a space that felt organic rather than manufactured. Soft light emanated from everywhere and nowhere, casting no shadows. At the center of the chamber, on what appeared to be a raised platform, lay a figure, definitely humanoid, but clearly not human. The being appeared female, with features that were hauntingly beautiful in their alienness. Her skin held an opalescent quality that shifted between pale blue and silver. Long, flowing hair the color of starlight spread across the platform like spilled moonbeams. She wore a form-fitting suit that seemed to be made from the same material as the ship itself. Olivia approached carefully, her scanner buzzing more insistently now. The being's chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm. She was alive but unconscious. As Olivia leaned closer to take readings, the alien's eyes suddenly opened, revealing irises that swirled with colors that had no names in any human language. The being sat up with fluid grace, looking around the damaged interior of her craft with what could only be described as dismay. When her gaze fell on Olivia, her expression shifted to curiosity mixed with caution. The alien opened her mouth and spoke in a voice like wind chimes mixed with distant thunder. The sounds were beautiful, but utterly incomprehensible until she noticed Olivia's buzzing scanner. Her eyes widened with what looked like relief and excitement. She pointed at the device and spoke again, this time with an expectant expression, as if waiting for it to respond. When it continued its mechanical buzzing, she tilted her head in confusion and spoke more slowly, enunciating each musical syllable with deliberate care. Olivia realized with growing bewilderment that the alien seemed to think her malfunctioning medical scanner was some kind of translation device. Princess Zara of Nethys had crash-landed on approximately 47 worlds during her diplomatic training, but never one quite so primitive. The bipedal creatures before her appeared intelligent enough, though their technology was charmingly rudimentary. Most concerning, however, was the apparent malfunction of their translation metrics. The female creature, clearly the leader, based on her confident posture and the deference shown by her companion held, what was obviously a communication device. Zara could see the neural interface ports along its sides, and the harmonic frequency modulator was buzzing exactly as it should to indicate active translation protocols. Yet when Zara spoke in formal Nethesian, requesting immediate contact with the local governing body to explain her presence, the device simply continued its mechanical humming. Honored representative of this world, Zara tried again, speaking slower and with more ceremonial inflection. I am Princess Zara, third heir to the crystal throne of Nephis. I require assistance in contacting my fleet. She gestured toward the buzzing device expectantly. The creature who had kind eyes, despite her alien features, stared at the device with growing confusion. She shook it gently, which made Zara wince. Clearly, these beings didn't understand proper care for sophisticated translation equipment. Perhaps the linguistic matrices need recalibration? Zara suggested helpfully, pointing to what she assumed were the device's control interfaces. The creature followed her gaze to the small buttons and displays, then looked back at Zara with an expression that seemed almost apologetic. This was most unusual. In Zara's experience, primitive civilizations were usually either hostile or overwhelmingly reverent when encountering Nethesian technology. This creature seemed genuinely concerned about the translation failure, which spoke well of her diplomatic potential. Zara decided to try a different approach. She placed her hand over her heart and said slowly, Zara. Then she pointed to the creature expectantly. The alien's face brightened with understanding. She mimicked the gesture and said something that sounded like O-lev-e-ah. The pronunciation was rough, but Zara could work with it. Olivia, Zara repeated carefully, then pointed to herself again. Zara. This seemed to please Olivia immensely. She began speaking rapidly to her companion, pointing between Zara and the buzzing device with obvious excitement. Zara caught a few words that might have been names or titles, but without the translator functioning properly, communication remained frustratingly limited. Frustrated, Zara examined her own equipment. Her emergency beacon was damaged. Her communication array was offline, and worst of all, her cultural database appeared to be corrupted. She had no information about this species or their customs. For all she knew, she might be violating a dozen protocols simply by being here. She tried activating her suit's diplomatic display, projecting a holographic star map that showed her home system. Olivia and her companion stepped back in amazement, then began chattering excitedly. At least they seemed impressed rather than threatened by the technology. Pointing to her home star, then to herself, then to her damaged ship, Zara attempted to convey that she was from far away and needed help. Olivia nodded vigorously and said something that sounded reassuring, though the translation device continued its useless buzzing dot as diplomatic crisis went. This was certainly unique. Zara had been trained to handle everything from trade disputes to territorial negotiations, but never a situation where the most basic communication was impossible due to faulty translation equipment. She could only hope that Olivia's people were as patient and understanding as she appeared to be. At least the device was consistently buzzing. That had to mean something positive about the translation protocols, even if they weren't actually translating anything yet. Captain Marcus Webb had dealt with international incidents, terrorist threats, and once memorably, escaped circus elephant that had somehow breached a military perimeter. But nothing in his 20-year career had prepared him for a potential alien princess who seemed convinced that Dr. Chun's broken medical scanner was sophisticated translation technology. Sir, we've established a secure perimeter around the crash site, reported Sergeant Phillips, trying very hard not to stare at the holographic star map floating above the alien's palm. The Brazilian government has agreed to joint custody of the situation, and we've got linguists flying in from 12 countries. Marcus nodded, watching through binoculars as Dr. Chun continued her improvised communication session with their visitor. The alien who had somehow managed to convey that her name was Zara was clearly frustrated with the scanners. Persistent buzzing, but she kept pointing to it hopefully whenever she spoke. "Captain," Dr. Chun's voice crackled through his radio. "She's definitely trying to communicate through my scanner. Every time she speaks, she looks at it like she's waiting for a response. I think she believes it's translating, but obviously it's just malfunctioning. Can you fix it?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Sir, it's a medical scanner. It reads biological functions. It's not supposed to translate anything, even if it was working properly, which it isn't." Marcus rubbed his temples. The situation was delicate enough without technological complications. If this Zara really was alien royalty, then Earth's first contact protocols were woefully inadequate. The documents he'd memorized assumed they'd be dealing with either invasion forces or peaceful explorers, not what appeared to be a stranded diplomat. "Dr. Chun, I need you to keep her calm and engaged. Don't let on that the device isn't what she thinks it is. If she gets frustrated and decides we're incompetent... Understood, Captain. But sir, what if her people come looking for her? If she really is a princess, won't they expect some kind of diplomatic reception?" That was exactly what kept Marcus awake at night. His orders were to secure the site and maintain peaceful contact until the experts arrived. But what if the experts took too long? What if alien warships appeared demanding the return of their princess, and all Earth had to show for first contact was a buzzing medical scanner and a lot of confused shrugging? "Sir?" Phillips interrupted, pointing at his monitoring equipment. "We're detecting some kind of energy buildup from the crashed ship. It's not dangerous, but it's rhythmic, like a beacon." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "A distress signal?" "That's my guess, sir. If it is, and if there are other ships out there, then we need to make sure Princess Zara has a very positive impression of humanity when her people arrive." Marcus finished grimly. He activated his radio again. "Dr. Chun, how's our royal guest doing?" "She's teaching me words, I think. She points to things and says something, then points to the scanner and waits. When it buzzes, she nods like it confirms something." "Captain, I think she believes the buzzing is actually the translation. Like, the device is working perfectly from her perspective." Marcus considered this. If Zara thought communication was proceeding normally, that bought them time. But it also created a bigger problem eventually. She'd expect actual progress. In their conversation, she'd want to discuss things like diplomatic protocols, rescue arrangements, and Earth's governmental structure. Topics that were slightly beyond the communicative power of pointing and nodding. "Keep doing what you're doing, Doctor. I'm calling in every favor. I have to get a real linguistics team here ASAP. And Dr. Chun, if that scanner stops buzzing, try hitting it or something. We need to keep our princess happy until the cavalry arrives." "Understood, sir. Though I have to say, for a potential alien invasion, she's remarkably polite. Let's hope her people are equally diplomatic when they show up looking for her." Engineer Finn Rodriguez had always been the guy who could fix anything. Toasters, spacecraft, quantum computers, if it had circuits, he could make it work. But Dr. Chun's medical scanner was testing even his considerable skills, mainly because it wasn't actually broken. "I've run every diagnostic I can think of," he reported to Captain Webb, holding up the persistently buzzing device. "The scanner is functioning perfectly. It's reading biological signatures, electromagnetic fields, and atmospheric composition exactly as designed. The buzzing isn't a malfunction. It's working over time because of all the exotic energy surrounding our alien friend." Through the observation tent's transparent wall, they could see Princess Zara gesturing animatedly while Dr. Chun nodded and occasionally held up the scanner. Every time the device buzzed, Zara would smile and continue speaking, apparently satisfied that communication was proceeding normally. "So what you're telling me," Captain Webb said slowly, "is that she thinks a perfectly functioning medical scanner is translating her language?" "That's the weird part, sir. I don't think she thinks it's translating at all." Finn pulled up his analysis on a tablet. "Watch her body language. She's not speaking to Dr. Chun and waiting for translation. She's speaking to the scanner directly, like it's responding to her." "Responding how?" Finn highlighted several audio waveforms. "The buzzing isn't random. It changes frequency and rhythm based on what she's saying. Look at this. When she speaks in short phrases, the buzz is brief and high-pitched. When she asks what appear to be questions, it drops to a lower frequency and extends longer." Captain Webb studied the patterns. "You're saying the scanner is actually responding to her?" "I'm saying something is responding through the scanner. Sir, what if we've been looking at this backwards? What if that's not a translation device from her perspective? What if it's some kind of communication amplifier?" Before Webb could respond, Dr. Chun's voice crackled through the radio with barely contained excitement. "Captain, you need to get Finn out here immediately. Something's happening with the scanner, and I think Zara is trying to show me something important." They found Dr. Chun and Princess Zara standing beside the alien craft, which was now glowing more brightly than before. Zara held the scanner close to one of the pulsing symbols on the ship's hull, and the device's buzzing had become almost musical. "She led me over here about 10 minutes ago," Dr. Chun explained rapidly. "She kept pointing between the scanner and the ship, like she wanted me to make a connection. When I held the scanner up to this symbol, both devices started, I don't know how to describe it, harmonizing." Finn took readings with his own equipment, his eyes widening as the data came in. "Captain, the scanner isn't just reading the ship's energy signature, it's interfacing with it. The buzzing is actually a form of harmonic resonance. The scanner and the ship are talking to each other." Princess Zara noticed their excitement and began speaking rapidly, pointing between the scanner, the ship, and herself. Her gestures seemed to indicate that this connection was exactly what she'd been trying to achieve. "Sir," Finn said quietly, "I don't think that's a crashed ship. Look at these energy readings. They're not consistent with damaged systems. They're consistent with a ship in standby mode, waiting for the right activation signal." "You mean?" "I mean the scanner isn't a translation device or a communication amplifier. It's a key, and Princess Zara has been trying to get us to use it to wake up her ship." As if summoned by his words, the craft's symbols began pulsing in a coordinated sequence. The harmonics between ship and scanner grew more complex, and suddenly, a holographic display materialized above the craft, showing what was unmistakably a countdown timer. Princess Zara looked at them with an expression that clearly said, "Finally. Now, shall we discuss getting me home?" Ambassador Helena Cross had negotiated treaties with 17 nations, mediated 3 international crises, and once talked a terrorist out of bombing the United Nations, building using nothing but a shared love of Italian opera. But as she watched an alien rescue fleet materialize in Earth's upper atmosphere, she realized her greatest diplomatic challenge was just beginning. "Ma'am, the alien ships are maintaining position at exactly 200 kilometers altitude," reported Colonel Hayes. From the emergency command center, they'd established at the crash site. "No hostile actions, but they're definitely waiting for something." Helena nodded, watching Princess Zara work with Finn to bring her ship's systems fully online. The craft no longer looked damaged. In fact, it appeared to be performing some kind of self-repair sequence. The persistent buzzing of Dr. Chon's scanner had evolved into something resembling a complex musical conversation between human technology and alien engineering. "Dr. Chun," Helena called out, How's our communication situation? Better than expected, Ambassador. Once Finn realized the scanner was acting as an interface rather than a translator, Princess Zara was able to access her ship's linguistic databases. She's been teaching herself English at an incredible rate. As if summoned by the mention of her name, Princess Zara approached with fluid grace, the scanner still buzzing softly in her hands. Her pronunciation was heavily accented but clearly understandable. Ambassador Helena, she said carefully, I must apologize for the ... confusion. My ship's emergency protocols required local technological interface for reactivation. Your device provided necessary harmonic bridge. Princess Zara, Helena replied formally, no apology is necessary. We're honored by your presence. However, I notice your fleet has arrived. Should we be concerned about their intentions? Zara's expression grew troubled. My people are ... protective. They see primitive world, disabled royal ship, and assume hostile action. I have been unable to signal them that Earth humans are peaceful and helpful. Helena felt the familiar thrill of a diplomatic puzzle clicking into place. What would convince them? Successful completion of first contact protocols, Zara replied. But your world has no established diplomatic framework for interstellar relations. By Nephian law, formal contact requires proper governmental representation and cultural exchange agreements. And without those protocols, my rescue fleet may classify Earth as potentially hostile and recommend protective measures for future Nephian travelers. Helena translated that in her head. They'll put Earth on the galactic equivalent of a no-fly list, possibly with armed enforcement. She turned to Colonel Hayes. Get me a direct line to the President, the UN Secretary-General, and the head of the European Space Agency. We're about to conduct humanity's first interstellar diplomatic session. Ambassador, Finn interrupted, still monitoring the scanner's interface with Zara's ship. The harmonic connection between our technology and theirs might be more significant than we realized. Look at these readings. The medical scanner isn't just communicating with Princess Zara's ship. It's somehow compatible with their entire technological framework. Princess Zara's eyes widened. Your device uses harmonic resonance frequencies? This is unprecedented. Most species develop completely incompatible technological languages. What does that mean for our diplomatic situation? Helena asked. It means, Zara said slowly, a smile spreading across her alien features, that Earth humans may be what my people call technologically compatible. This is extremely rare and extremely valuable for interstellar cooperation. Helena felt hope rising. Valuable enough to overlook our lack of formal protocols? Valuable enough to establish them, Zara replied. If Earth wishes, Nethys would be honored to sponsor your world's entry into the Galactic Diplomatic Council. Your harmonic technology compatibility makes you natural partners for peaceful technological exchange. As if responding to some unseen signal, the buzzing scanner in Zara's hands began emitting a complex musical sequence. Above them, the alien fleet's energy signatures shifted to what could only be described as a less threatening configuration. Princess, Helena said with her most diplomatic smile, I believe humanity would be very interested in discussing interstellar partnership. Shall we begin with first contact protocols? Zara bowed gracefully. It would be my honor, Ambassador. Though I must warn you, Galactic Council meetings involve far more paperwork than you might expect. Helena laughed. Princess, I think humanity is going to fit right in.